about this story? A White House official was fired for running an anonymous Twitter account that criticized the administration. Jaffe Joseph worked in the White House's national security section involved in nuclear talks with Iran. Joseph says that the account started as sort of a parody that he was having fun with, but then he admits it evolved into being just plain mean, and he has apologized for that. Stephen Yates is a former deputy assistant to Vice President Cheney for National Security Affairs from 2001 to 2005, and he's currently CEO of the D.C. International Advisory. Steve, good to have you with us this morning. Welcome back.
Good morning, Martha.
You know, let's take a look at a couple of these, and there are more like them, but this first one really takes a slam at Valerie Jarrett, and this comes from somebody who works for the Obama administration in the White House, so this couldn't have gone over too well. Says, I'm a fan of President Obama, but his continuing reliance and dependence upon a vacuous cipher like Valerie Jarrett concerns me. He was an equal opportunity offender. He went after Sarah Palin as well, calling her family white trash. In this one, and he went by Nat SEC Wonk and got away with it for some time. What do you make of this?
Well, on the one hand, this is one of those national security questions that you can laugh at on one side, but raises some serious questions on another. I mean, what he said sometimes was funny, sometimes inappropriate, but being comical, critical, snarky isn't illegal. But when you accept a security clearance and you accept employment in the White House especially, you give up some of your civil liberties, and you don't always have the freedom to have a second life outside of work. I'd be very interested in what the legal cause was for going after his identity, because I don't think it's illegal to be weird outside of office hours. But if he was using government equipment, time while on the job, well, yeah, that's cause for termination. But it says a lot about whether they're monitoring the communications of people involved in national security and what their competence is when it comes to security on the job at the NSC and the White House these days.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I would think since the White House is his employer, just like, you know, we have our employer, anything that you do from your computer is fair game. And I would imagine that would be the argument on this. I don't know exactly where he was tweeting from, whether he was doing it from, but they also could have the umbrella sort of, well, it also had to do with his work and what he was doing, and probably make sure that they could get access in that way, right?
That's right. I mean, I think any reasonable person would say what he was doing was inappropriate. You know, when you're trying to hire people to do serious jobs, having them moonlight as a comic on the outside or a critic on the outside is not part of the job description.
You know, this Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to point out, he worked for Senator Robert Casey. He worked for Vice President Joe Biden. He's worked in government for a very long time. And I wonder also about the sensitivity of what he was saying about Benghazi, which also caught my eye, because he said, he was derogatory about Darrell Issa. And then he says, but he's onto something here with the @Hillary Clinton whitewash of accountability on Benghazi, which could not have gone over too well with the bosses.
No question about that. And this is going to be a mixed blessing in certain senses, in that some of what he said actually is true and useful and insightful, but it's coming from someone who probably exercised bad judgment in giving it to us. And so I think there's actually some elements of this that probably deserve some tension and follow-up. But when it comes to it fundamentally, this is a 21st century problem where, 10 years ago when I was in the White House, you didn't have Twitter accounts and Facebook postings and people living their life online outside of work. And they monitored our phone calls. They monitored our emails. You knew that was going to be part of it. But it's amazing to me that people have this bad a judgment in this day and age.
Yeah, so true about the 21st century and the way we work. Stephen Yates, thank you so much. Good to talk to you today.
Thank you, Martha. Take care.
John Scott's coming up. Matter of moments here. Watching what he